Giulia di Barolo, Bread, Wine, and Redemption. This is a story of bread for the poor and wine for the rich. A love story too, finally, on zigzag, between a man and a woman, but also between this extraordinary couple, the Barolos, and their city, the 19th century Turin, and the poor souls they chose to help, protect, and educate as if they were their own children. Oh, and 325 barrels of wine. Why precisely 325? Don't you worry, we'll get there. Every Sunday morning, right here, in front of this grand doorway, in front of these very gates, in this awesome courtyard, the poor of Turin would gather. Because every Sunday, since that fateful Domenica in Albis, when she was struck, quite literally, as we will see, on her road to Damascus, Giulia di Barolo handed out meat and firewood. Fast forward to 1848, a year of social unrest, riots and revolutions throughout Europe. The same grand staircase, the same courtyard where these students now stroll, were stormed by angry crowds. Notwithstanding the many hospitals, orphanages, shelters Giulia had built in Turin. In fact, the mob didn't gather for charity. Social justice is what they were after. But you see, Giulia was extremely devout and deeply conservative. She understood charity, but not universal human rights. She believed in mercy, but not revolution. She had her reasons. Her grandmother and her aunt had quite literally lost their heads to the French Revolution. Giulia, or rather Juliette Colbert de Maulevrier, was French, a descendant of Louis XIV's famous finance minister. Born in Vendée in 1785, she grew up in exile, only to return to France after the revolution to Napoleon's imperial court, where she became lady-in-waiting to Empress Joséphine. There, she met her future husband, Tancredi Falletti, Marquis of Barolo. They married in 1806, and by 1814 they'd settled in Turin's Palazzo Barolo. Here's Napoleon present for her wedding, a clock with Cupid and his fatal arrows. Then came that fateful Sunday, that crucial Domenica in Albis. Juliette is walking down the street via San Domenico when she hears a scream, a raw, inhuman sound rising from the earth. It came from Turin's underground prisons, and Juliette, against every rule of law and etiquette, enters the jail. She bribes the guards and literally pushes her way in, because when Juliette makes her decision, she won't take no as an answer. She leaves Turin's most beautiful palace and descends into hell. Starvation, filth, violence, abasement. Piemont's prisons were the worst in Europe. And she decides, on the spot, she's going to change that. From that moment on, she visits the female inmate every single day. Every morning, she leaves her frescoed salon and golden stuccos to go down among the least and last. At first, they spit at her, they laugh at her, they insult her. But slowly, she wins them over. She brings food, blankets, teaches them to read, write, count, and of course, to pray. But her fight unfolds also outside those walls. Society whispers. A noblewoman spending hours with thieves and prostitutes. A downright scandal. An utter disgrace. Even Tancredi, her husband, begs her to stop. Afraid she'll get sick or traumatized. But Juliette does not falter and wins him over. She wins them all over. Even the king eventually has to surrender. Carlo Alberto names her prison superintendent. Of course, she's the first woman in the world in that role. And she takes it seriously. She visits jails across Europe, writes reports, exchanges letters with the experts and reformers. And thanks to her, the impossible happens. Prisons become a place of redemption, not just punishment. She strives to improve inmates' present, but she also thinks about their future. She believes they should study and learn a trade in order to build a future outside. This idea, revolutionary in itself, becomes the heart of all her charitable works: hospitals, orphanages, schools, shelters. Many still active today as the Opera Pia Barolo, as she stated in her will. Strikingly, between one reform and the next, Giulia also invents one of the world's greatest wines. Of course, we are talking about Barolo. Back then, the wine of the Langhe was undrinkable. Giulia, being French, thought, if in France they can do Bordeaux, surely in Piedmont we can do Barolo. So, in 1840, she brings in the best enologist of the time, Louis Oudard. Together, they perfect barrel aging, and Barolo is born. But Giulia isn't just a saint. She's also a marketing genius. She knows a good wine needs a good PR, so she sends 325 barrels of the new wine to Carlo Alberto, the King of Piedmont. He becomes, without even knowing it, the first food and wine influencer in history. And why 325? One for each day of the year, except, of course, the days of Lent.